This image at the bottom of the page has incredible amount of detail, and what we're going to do is we are going to walk at least a portion of this, what you see in this image. And I want to point out to you a couple of things. The first and most important landmark, you see the center fold of your page, the bridge abutment just to the right of the center fold. You see that? Just above that bridge abutment is a white house with kind of a salt box roof on it. You all see that? Yeah. That house is now that house right there. That with the most hideous aluminum siding in all of Fredericksburg today. But that, if you look at the foundation on this side, you can clearly see, and in fact, some people believe that's one of the oldest foundations in all of the city. This was originally a building that stood as early as 1750 on this site, and it was at various times a tavern. The current building postdates that by a considerable margin, but it's interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, it appears so obviously in this image. Secondly, it's one of the only standing structures in the community of Fredericksburg today, Civil War era structures that we know was owned by a freed black person during the war. A woman named Eliza Eubanks owned this house, and in fact several other houses in town. She was listed as a washerwoman, but obviously had done quite well for herself. Just to the right of that building, you can see a two-story white house that stood right about where this parking lot is today, next to the Masonic Lodge there. And that was a house owned by a fellow named Absalom Rowe. Any of you who are local around here, Rowe is a family, is a name that has wound its way all the way through Fredericksburg history, and quite vividly too. Farther to the right, you can see the tree, and just to the right of the tree you can see a rather large brick building with 3 windows on the side. You see that? Anybody have any questions? That is Shiloh Baptist Church, as it's known today, Old Site Shiloh Baptist Church. Originally, that was Fredericksburg Baptist Church. Until 1855, when they moved in, the white component of that congregation moved up the hill into the big church that you see on the hill. They sold this building that you see to the black members of the congregation, and this therefore became, as it was known, the African Baptist Church in town. Absalom Rowe's father was a man named George Rowe, who was the pastor of the African Baptist Church. George Rowe, actually, his house appears in the big famous panorama, still stands out on Hanover Street, but he was the pastor. Up until 1865, every meeting of black members of the community had to be supervised by a white member of the community. And so all black churches had to have white pastors. And so George Rowe was the pastor of that church. If you look to just this side of the Baptist church there in that image, you can see a kind of cluster of buildings. Those cluster of buildings obscure what was the ice house, the largest ice house in town. It was a community ice house, a commercial operation, generally supplied by ice or with ice by hauling it in from the north during the winter, but not always so. In 1857, they cut about 14 inches of ice off the Rappahannock here. I don't think anybody remembers that much ice being on the Rappahannock probably since that time, but the winter of 1857 was an anomaly, and they were able to fill that ice house at that time. The ice house stood, you can see this low white building down there, just on the other side of that. And in between all of this were tenements and a couple of major residents, Eliza Eubanks and Absalom Rowe. Absalom Rowe's house was a significant field hospital